Before Jack the Ripper turned London into a nightmare, another killer was already moving through Austin, Texas. He did not leave letters. He did not leave a name. He left axes, footprints, wounded survivors, and 8 dead people across one terrified city. The victims were cooks, servants, a child, a young couple, and 2 married white women killed on Christmas Eve. For almost 1 year, Austin locked its doors, men patrolled with guns, and police arrested suspects without proving who was responsible. Newspapers called it the Servant Girl murders. Later, the killer became known as the Servant Girl Annihilator. Many writers call this America's first serial killer story. But this is also about the people Austin failed to protect, the racial injustice behind the panic, and a case still officially unsolved more than 140 years later. In late 1884, Austin was growing, but at night it was dark and vulnerable. Wealthy white families often employed black women as cooks, maids, and domestic servants. Many slept in small rooms or detached quarters near their employers' homes. They worked inside powerful households, but they did not receive equal protection. That gap became deadly on December 30th, 1884. The first known victim was Mollie Smith, a 25-year-old cook. She was attacked while sleeping, and her partner, Walter Spencer, was badly wounded. Austin had no DNA, no fingerprint system, and no modern forensic tools. Investigators looked at the closest person first. Spencer survived, but suspicion fell on him. That pattern repeated. Police often focused on husbands, boyfriends, or nearby black men, while the larger pattern stayed invisible. For a few months, Austin hoped Mollie's murder was isolated. Then came more attacks. In March 1885, 2 Swedish servant women, Clara Strand and Christine Martinson, were seriously wounded. They survived, but the warning was clear. Someone was entering homes at night and attacking women in their beds. This was not a robbery spree. The attacks showed silence, planning, and repeated choice of vulnerable victims. On May 6, 1885, Eliza Shelley was murdered. She was a black woman, a cook, and a mother. Her children were nearby when the attack happened. A few weeks later, on May 22nd, Irene Cross was attacked and murdered. Now Austin had multiple women dead or wounded in similar nighttime attacks. The danger was not random, but understanding danger is not the same as stopping it. The crime scenes shared frightening details. Weapons left nearby, victims attacked indoors, then moved outside, footprints, bloodhounds, and confused witness reports. Some believed there was one killer, others believed there were several. Fear filled the gaps where evidence was missing. By summer 1885, women feared sleeping alone, men formed patrols, police made arrests, and rumors spread faster than facts. But the killer, or killers, kept moving. On August 30th, the case took one of its darkest turns. Rebecca Ramey was attacked and left alive. Her 11-year-old daughter, Mary Ramey, was taken and killed. Mary was a child, not a servant, and her murder shattered any belief that the attacker had a fixed boundary. The case had become a citywide nightmare. Less than a month later, on September 28th, Gracie Vance and Orange Washington were killed. Gracie was a young black woman, and Orange Washington was her boyfriend. His death showed that men near targeted women could also be killed, but the pattern still pointed toward women as the main focus. Austin's black community had lived with terror for months. Still, the response was unequal. For most of 1885, the victims were mostly black women and people connected to them. Their deaths created fear, but not the same official urgency that came later. That changed on Christmas Eve. On December 24th, 1885, 2 white women were murdered in separate attacks on the same night. Susan Hancock was attacked while sleeping in a room with her teenage daughter. Eula Phillips, a 17-year-old wife and mother, was also killed that night. The city exploded in panic. Now the murders had crossed a racial and class line many white Austinites believed protected them. The fear black domestic workers carried for months became a citywide crisis. The Christmas Eve murders pushed Austin close to chaos. Crowds demanded answers, newspapers attacked police, rewards were offered, patrols increased, and more suspects were named. Susan Hancock's husband, Moses Hancock, was accused but acquitted. Eula Phillips's husband, James Phillips, was convicted, but that conviction was later overturned. Austin wanted a culprit, but wanting a culprit did not create proof. Then after Christmas Eve, the murders stopped. There was no confession, no trial that solved the whole series, and no final arrest that clearly closed the pattern. A city that had spent a year waiting for the next attack suddenly waited, and nothing came. The killer disappeared from the record. So who was the Servant Girl Annihilator? The honest answer is, no one knows. Many suspects were arrested during the panic. Some were husbands or partners. Some were men police considered suspicious because of race, rumor, or location. None were conclusively proven to be the killer behind the full series. The lack of forensic tools damaged the investigation, and bias damaged it even more. When the first victims were black women, their lives were not treated with the same urgency as the later white victims. That failure may have given the killer more time. One suspect still discussed today is Nathan Elgin. He was a 19-year-old black cook. Modern researchers have examined his location, violent history, and reports of footprints that may have suggested the attacker was missing a toe. Elgin was reportedly missing a toe. In February 1886, after the murders ended, he was shot and killed by police while allegedly attacking a young girl with a knife. That timing is hard to ignore, but timing is not proof. Elgin was never tried for the murders. No physical evidence conclusively connects him to every crime. He remains a suspect, not a solved answer. One myth says Austin built its moonlight towers because of the murders, but the towers were installed about a decade later, in 1894 and 1895. The murders may have stayed in city memory, but the towers were not an immediate response. That matters because legend can bury facts. The facts are powerful enough. 8 people were killed: Mollie Smith, Eliza Shelley, Irene Cross, Mary Ramey, Orange Washington, Gracie Vance, Susan Hancock, and Eula Phillips. Others were seriously wounded. The victims were workers, mothers, partners, children, and community members forced to live under fear. This case also asks why Jack the Ripper became world famous while the Austin murders remain less known. The answer is race, class, media attention, and whose suffering history chooses to remember. Austin's first victims were black women doing domestic labor in a segregated society. Their stories were not preserved with the same force as cases involving white victims or larger media centers. That silence became part of the crime's legacy. The Servant Girl Annihilator was not a ghost. He was not supernatural. He was a human predator who used darkness, weak policing, social inequality, and public confusion to keep attacking. He struck before the term serial killer existed. He exposed how unprepared 19th century police were for repeated violent crimes. By the end of 1885, Austin had changed. People learned locked doors were not always enough. They learned panic could spread faster than justice. They learned a killer could become famous while victims became footnotes. And they learned an unsolved case never truly ends. It remains open every time someone asks why these 8 lives were not protected sooner. More than a century later, the Servant Girl Annihilator is still called America's first serial killer by many writers. More carefully, he was one of the earliest documented serial killers in the United States. But the title is less important than the truth behind it. Before the world knew Jack the Ripper, Austin already had its own midnight assassin. He came out of the dark. He targeted the vulnerable. He escaped justice. And because the case was never solved, the final line is not an answer. It is a warning. When a society decides some victims matter less, a killer does not need invisibility. He only needs the world to look away.